I'd say that's good enough. Here's the final product. I just dumped out a ton of water out of this thing. We're gonna try to put this in a vise. And use an actual rubber mallet. Jeez. Good Lord. That looks bad inside of there. Let me get you a close-up. How about that? Where's my other phone at? Straight barnacles. So this little lip right here is what we want to be pretty. And that is not even close. My God, that's not even close. So that is, oh Jesus Christ. That's pretty bad. We might try to lap this before we even dig into it too deep to make sure that that doesn't have deep pitting and this doesn't have deep pitting. Yikes. I've seen some pretty bad stuff, but this is up there. I'm going to knock off some of this high stuff. The intakes don't look that bad, but that way whenever I'm lapping it, chunks of rust aren't falling into the mating surface. Oh, this is the bad one. Took off that big old chunk. don't know if that's enough. I don't know if you can see that. That looks pretty pitted and ugly. The intakes look okay. Those exhausts, or the intakes look bad. The exhausts look okay. But that edge right there is just as important. Like that. Well, that's good. It just came off. But this one actually looks pitted. We'll try to lap them real quick. That is not enough. I don't know if I could just keep doing that, keep doing that, and keep doing that. Or if I did it with a fresh valve, if the seat would come back to life. They make a seat cutter, like repair kit. I bought one before, like 35 bucks, Chinese junk. The problem with it, I think I could have made it work good if the bore of the shaft, the cutter shaft, it was loose to where that had like wobble in it. You know, this is probably 5 millimeter. And like the guide's 5 millimeter, this is probably 4.95, I'd guess, maybe even a little more. And that cutter shaft was like 4.7, so it had slop in it, which means it wasn't square when you'd put that thing in there, and it'd basically mess up your cutting surface. But I think if I had a proper, cutting bit, I could redo this and save this. I don't know. I'm gonna have to reach out to the owner and see what he wants to do. All right, here's what we're doing. Soapy water. Got the valve spring on there, and then air. Let's do. Well, you son of a bitch. Let's get this one up in here for a better angle. All right, so obviously we have a leak, but that's not bad, right? Because think about where we started. So maybe I can just lap this a couple more times and that'll seal up. So we'll do that before we give up on it and go to extreme measures, being just the parts cannon guy. We got a new head and valve cover. They are line board, which means that they basically take these pieces from the factory and they're not exact, and then they bore them to match. Like this piece matches this piece, so you never want to mix match those. Got a new stator cover, which did not come in a condition that I thought it would. We literally have a broken tip off in this. This one's already stripped out, but the fact that they're not full-blown rust, and we don't have a broken one off in here, might be a little easier to work with. We got a new cylinder, but it had a nick in the Nickel. I got sent back. Just a tiny bit of rust there. It's a good usable head, right? So we need to see if it's all pitted up and it's actually usable to send it back or not. Got piston kit. Yeah, it's a cast piston, which is
Well, stock's cast piston, and that's a top end gasket kit that came with it, and then we got the full blown gasket kit for like the bottom end.
I know you boys like them close-ups, so this is why we're pulling it. Hopefully it's not a repeat. Looks kind of like shit. Might have been beating on it there. Beating on it there. I think the rest of it looks okay though. Alright, here's the verdict on that. Not the best, but for the most part, it just looks like surface rust. Not like huge amounts of material missing like the other ones. So I think we'll be able to save that. I'll go in here and get these cleaned up, and then we'll lap them and check them to see if they're sealing. Alright, got everything cleaned up. You can see there is some pitting on that valve. And then this is the other intake valve. There's the seat. Got a couple spots on that, but that actually cleaned up pretty good. The exhausts were fine. So I don't know if I want to try to lap these and deform that, or if we should get new valves. I think I'm going to see how much new valves cost and show him these pictures and recommend he gets new valves. Or he can choose to send this back, one of the two. So apparently valves are hard to get. These are the valves that he said just lap them. And I don't want to do that. Because it's only about half of it. That one's a little more than half. What's going to happen is when I lap it, and the whole thing isn't like that, it's going to make like this offset, maybe like make kind of like a wobble. So check this out. This, if you don't recognize it, that's the old one. It's looking pretty good, isn't it? So I chucked that up in a drill press and put a file on it and some emery cloth. And I'm wondering if I should just do that to these. These, I do have a proper lapping tool, and these aren't all tore up to where I could use that. Or maybe I should lap them into the old head to wear the material down to get it flat. Well, what would you guys do? So here's after lapping it into the old head. Not too impressed. And this is with a proper, like a oscillating thing too. Okay, so check that out. This is the old valve. This is Dirty McGurdy. I mean, that looks perfect to me. So, well, here we go. We got the mill bastard, and then we got the valve chucked up in the drill press. And all I'm going to do, I don't know if you can see me, but I'm going to be over here, and I'm going to get down, and I'm going to line this up against this cream-colored wall and get this angle just right to where, I guess for you it'd be like this. So whenever I get this angle just right, I can see, you know, if I'm too high or too low, and just start kissing it with this and not hold it in one place because it'll sit and dig grooves in it if this gets clogged up. So I'll slowly kind of feed it as I'm keeping it even and see what happens. So these new valves, they seem way harder than the other valve that actually worked. So we're going to use a Dremel bit, a little sanding drum bit, and basically going to do the same thing and try to just take a layer off. So we got a couple little pits in there that are left over. Don't know if they're going to be a problem or not yet. But the Dremel bit did work. Alright, check this out if you're questioning my my valve modifications and refurbishment. So we're not Steve Morse engines, okay? Let's get that out of the way. So your seat is going to be, it's going to be flat, right? Like this is the flat part of the head right here, like in the combustion chamber. So this is like our relevant point where it's flat. And then you have like a 60 or 58 degree or something right here. The 45 is where it touches, okay? And then you have a 32 or something, and then it's straight, okay? That's like just a standard valve job. So what we want is basically exactly this right here, where that dull ring is in the center of that shiny section. We don't want it right at the lip, and we don't need it way up here. So as long as it's in the center part of that shiny section, then we're good. And, things can get worn out to make that harder to achieve. And all we were trying to do was get rid of that pitting to where whenever we go to lap this, it doesn't do this. Well, you can't even see that because you can kind of see it right there. It leaves like rings. You don't want rings. So the seats in the other head were good. And if I stuck these ugly valves in there, I don't think the seats would be good anymore. The seats would get rings in them, and the seats are going to be harder than this. So then the seats are going to keep imprinting rings into this no matter how much you lap it. So now we have two good valves here that turned out really, really well. And as long as the angle of this, because you got to think, like, that's not a lathe. That's not going to be perfect. So as long as the angle is kind of close, it'll self-correct to this 45 here. And that's really what's most important. All right, so new head and then new valves, the best valves. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a mark on these things so I don't mix them up. We're not going to use the old hose fuel line trick, which that's fine, it works. But for this, where we're already going to be like basically fighting the rings, we got a proper tool to where basically it spins normal, and if you hold this, can you see what that's doing? Focus. Alright, so it goes back and forth. So it just grinds out one little area instead of spinning. And we're just lifting up and going back down. If I feel like it's going in the same spot and it's just working the same spot, I'll let go of this a little bit to let it spin and then grab it again. Alright, first pass. Remember, we're looking for that dull line right in the middle. Right, check that out. So that one looks like it's leaking a little bit at the bottom, which is got a couple little spots of pitting. So we'll just lap this one some more. I'll probably lap this one some more too. And I think it's going to be okay. Alright, here's what's giving us problems. That right there is the mating surface to the valve with the pits in it. And it's starting to get a ring around it. So, got a new toy. To hopefully fix that. Here's what's going on with this head situation. We got two different seat cutters. This one was what we thought would be the good one. It looks like this. There's only two angles, so you can't reset the, what am I trying to say here? You can't reset the seat on it. So, see how that dark gray band is like in the middle of the shiny area? Like that's where you want it. So whenever you start cutting material out, it makes that 45 get wider and wider and wider to where it's going to start seating all the way to the very edge of the tip. And that's whenever you can start knocking chunks and stuff off a valve whenever things get really, really hot, or, you know, whatever, a little piece of debris gets caught in there. So it only has the cutters to do the 45 and then to like bring it up, but nothing to bring it down. So that's this kit. So that's kind of dumb, but the seat is closer to the actual diameter of a valve to where you don't have very much walk. But it has its own problem where it was actually used, and it's supposed to be new, is like messed up cross-threaded. So watch this. Yeah, that's neat. And then, so this is the Chinese kit. I've had one of these before, and it was junk. Basically, this is always too small, and it lets it wobble. And then these things are never centered, so then it really wants to wobble. Here's a prime example. You can see it was cutting on this side and not on this side. And that had a high side, like a high spot in it anyway, where it basically, let's see if I can zoom in here and show you. It put a ring on that, and like, yeah, it would ruin that seat. And then this is the amount of wobble that these things have. right? So I think this is 4.92. The valve is 4.95 or 96, and this is like 4.8. So then it relies, both of them kind of rely on the cutter head to center it, but you can see it's only got 5 cutters on it, whereas this one's got 6, and it's, a better design. So also these didn't cut worth a shit. This is some it's supposed to be carbide. It's Chinese-eyed. You can see right there on the right side of that where it's got like 2 little shiny spots. That's from it getting dull from trying to cut the intake and trying to cut the exhaust, thinking like, it's just not cutting good on one side. It literally dulled this thing up before it even made a cut. So I'm using this one, and I'm basically just holding it, putting like some constant pressure on it, and then whenever I stop, I'm not holding down when I stop. I'm kind of letting up as I stop. That way, because this is actually carbide and it will cut into that, and I don't want it cutting like stair steps into this thing. Wipe off the dust off of this thing. That way it doesn't get jammed up in there. And I got all my spots marked on here that I'm trying to get rid of. I don't know if it's going to focus good or not. I'm getting close. Getting really, really close. One thing to note too is what I'm trying to do is have this, pretty much vertical. This is what not being able to recenter that 45, that's what I'm talking about. You can see here you got a little black lip, gray band, and then it's black at that 45. It's even on both sides. Then if you look at this one, see how close it is to the edge. So that's what we're working with. We got the long reach. We're getting our rip in there good. Rip in there good. No cheating. Look there. Yeah. Alright, so I got, I used a razor blade and took off just like the paint from the gasket and crud, a little bit of brake cleaner and paper towel, and wiped these surfaces off so they weren't like just dripping with oil. And what we're going to do is, I know that this section of my bench right here is extremely flat, like 10 thousandths. So we're going to lap this head. This is 400 grit sandpaper. It's this Harbor Freight stuff, but it's 400 grit. And what we're going to do is just make sure all this stuff's flat. This is probably going to be flat, but there's like, you can see some high points where like they've dropped it and dented the corners and stuff. And all of that's going to affect it whenever I go to tighten it. So I just want to see this scratched up evenly everywhere. All right, let's see where the high spots are.
can see, cleaned that off. That's still got marker. That's still got marker. Big old gouge right there. You can see some of the dirty spots from the gasket where it's got up, like imprinted in it from rust. So basically, our low spots are right here. So we're going to do that until we get the majority of those low spots out. I'd say that's good enough. I'm going to do a little port job on this head. We're going to get rid of all these ugly castings. We're not going to go too extreme. So much carbon on this side, you can't even see it. I basically just got rid of that groove for the casting, right? So that's my starting point. And then from there, after I get rid of this, I'm just going to blend it in right here where I made a little lip. Just start blending it in, work it around. That's how much we took off. And here's the difference between not and then done with that Brillo pad bit. I did the right side, not the left side. So that turned out really well. On a carbureted engine, you want to leave the intake rough. You don't want it super smooth. It helps atomize the air. On the exhaust side, you can polish it to a mirror though. Here's the final product. Blended this spot right here. This spot right here was like really ugly on the intake side. So it's a much smoother transition now. So the intake's still a little rough. The exhaust side is much smoother. So I think this is like probably the best way to address these spots. Let's see if I can just show you how. See, it's hitting there and there real bad. I don't know if you can see that, but it's from that giant dent. Yeah, I'm much happier with that. So now we'll get some air, blow all this out, and then we'll probably come back and touch that up just because it's been getting flipped and flopped. But we're not going to do that until the very end when we know we're done, you know, plopping this thing on a table and whatnot. We will try to take more precautions to not let it get damaged though from this point forward. So I learned a hard lesson once upon a time. When I get new valve seals, I always poke my fingernail in them and lightly poke it up here to see if it feels like it's turned to plastic or not. And my theory on why this was a problem a long time ago is the bag sitting out
Imagine that camera is the sunlight. And then these are just sitting here getting cooked through a window, sitting on a shelf for 10 years. And the UV breaks this plastic down, because this isn't plastic rated for UV, it's inside an engine. And then them turn hard, turn to plastic. Then you install them. And what happens is that little bitty lip in there tears out. And then you got a leak, which is going to turn into smoke on a fresh rebuild. The dot on this side. Make sure we got some lube on that, so first time it goes through, it lubes that seal up. And we need the, I don't know the technical name for that. It's like a base plate for the spring. Make sure we have that. And grab our spring. Let's inspect the spring. So you see right here how there's like tight coils down here. And at the top it doesn't look like that, so this needs to go down. Same way with this. See these tight coils down here? And they're not at the top, so that needs to go down. Tight coils go down. And then we need a top retainer. Get our two keepers prepped. I've done this hundreds of times, and every time, 1 out of 4 makes me feel like it's my first time. So we're going to do some sticky assembly lube. These guys. Gonna kind of get one in there. I mean, it actually lined up perfect, but I was gonna say get one in there half-assed. It don't matter. Trying to get you an angle that you can see. I'm gonna go a little lower. I'll take a piece of welding wire. Try to tip it up in there. If I held it straight up, it'd be easier, but then you wouldn't be able to see. And this one fell all the way down. So we need to bring that one back up. It's just going to fight us. Alright, so it's in the groove. I'm going to push on the spring to force it over. And then I'm going to take my piece of welding wire and I'm going to try to rotate it. Walk it down like that. And try to get this one in here. So this is a good setup right here. Give it one last little poke. Nope, got too greedy. Go down a little farther. Use a pick. There we go. Now, come back up. And right where I think it's good right there, I'm gonna smack want to smack this end right here. That way it kind of makes the everything kind of bounce and flex. That way if these things aren't perfectly seated, they kind of wiggle into place. Here we go. Oh my god! What is that? Look at that. That's the money shot side right there. It looks like a turd. That's crazy.